Alright, hello guys. I'm gonna do a really quick Vanguard tutorial, kinda trying to put all in one. Mm, well, okay, I mean, yeah, because of people. Okay, okay, stop, guys. Yeah, people ask me quite a lot about Vanguard, so I just tried to make a kinda all-in-one tutorial. And so yeah, there we are. Alright. This is at the moment, I'm level 70 currently. So yeah, just hit that kind of. Gonna go for the 71 in the new server. And yeah, that's kinda my state at the moment. Let's look on the stats first though. The ones which I'm using, which is PvP DPS, which is like quite a few strengths, a bit vigor, whatever, spirit and dexterity. Compared to my PvE DPS, it is way more strength because of the force, which we are getting somewhere here. Like this gives like a more percentage boost. So strength is always good, you know. Even when I don't really like that stat as a Vanguard. You have less crit in your PvE because I'll explain it later. Because of your bleed, you don't need to crit that much like in PvP. It's more important to crit like a few more times in PvP and do like in non-crits like like 5% less damage or something, you know. It's way more important to crit in the PvP than in the PvE, because in PvP you need burst as a Vanguard, and in PvE you need consistent damage. And those two pages are like full tank here, right here, and this is like DPS in PvE-ish, or like in arena against like blade masters and stuff. The annoying peoples, you know. Alright, for the stats first. As a Vanguard you focus a lot on your physical damage, like that's kind of the stat you need to boost. Why? I'm gonna come to that later. For the hits, this is like a thing which you know already, or like you should have at least. Like for now I'm having 9.1%, but in PvE at least it is really important to have a high hit, and in PvP as well. So it's like people underestimate that stat. And to really hit always in PvE you need 10%. I'm at 9.1, which is okay, so I use my Astral Vine to always hit the 10%. You can use that as well in your GVG, which is currently getting participated now. I mean, others are participating. I mean, there's 69 ones, I'm 70, feels bad, man. Alright, so I'm getting on my 10%. Alright, the next stats, like, you get a lot of crit from your DPS stance. Like for now I'm at 40, which is like okay. When I'm pressing my fearless in DPS stance, I'm going to 50. With some extra buffs and stuff, it's pretty solid. You don't really need a lot of crit as a Vanguard. In PvE, for example, it's like okay if you have like 40, like blank, because you really need only damage. In PvP it is something else again, you know. You need a bit more crit to like actually burst the people. How I'm gonna show you as well. Alright, crit increment is a pretty important stat in PvP, and so is physical defense break. But like the stat which is like really popping off is in PvP these special skills. Like if you're a full PvP player, you don't care about PvE or like have a complete PvP set, as a Vanguard you should focus first on special skills, then like on crit, and then like on crit increment I would say, and then on physical defense break. Because then you are just a burst Vanguard, which is like the only potential to kind of kill people. Otherwise, you would need to play the kind of supportive kind of Vanguard who does damage as well, but is always the first one who is jumping in, and only half left the people, and then the others need to follow up because people are using their defenses and stuff. Alright, I'm just gonna explain the skills right here, which I have now. I have only 60 cultivations, but yeah, I'll just explain every stat really quick here. Those three here from the Heroic Strike are pretty useful, but only in PvE and like when you have around 90 cultivations. The others are pretty much trash. Why? Because it's giving a Sunder, and a Sunder is very, very important for the next bleed you put on the target. You will see that in a second. So this right here, that's another sweep. It's really important to have this in PvE. This is like your main DPS, even when it doesn't look like it. And this book is like super fucking rare. I mean, super rare. And if you get that, yeah, then you're completely unreachable in DPS, at least in the 79 content as a Vanguard. You normally are the highest DPS class in PvE, only in PvE, as a Vanguard. When you have enough cultivations, you can put here some cults as well, and for PvP, those. Broken Array, this is really good, like when you're too tired to reactivate that, you can just use the skill completely and it doesn't knock back the targets. It's no DPS difference, it's only the CC which is getting added when you're using that. This skills, this cultivations right here on top is pretty nice. I would say more like for PvP, like to finish people off, you know. I really do that often, to just use this skill kinda not that often, so that's why I'm using it kinda at the end, and when people are like low HP you can really hit them hard with those cultivations when you have enough, like around 90, 95 and stuff. This skill is absolute garbage. It only is worth using for getting special skill points. I'm gonna show that really quick, like in a second. And this is like your main setup skill for all your DPS, like your crippling bolt. There's like a lot of stuff in here, like extra damage, extra damage, extra damage. Not the extra damage, but like this cast time is like super useful, even when people don't think it is. Duration, extra damage, and this book, which you're getting with Demon Slayer books, like for 6k or something, really cheap. It's really, really worth it, and increases your DPS instantly by 12% like for your raid as well, at least. Yeah, this is a 50 million book. It's pretty okay for PvP, but yeah, if you need like a wheelchair to need to hit your blazing charge, I mean, then you can go for it, Kappa. This is like pretty nice, the skill, like it's like a little translation bug, I guess. Like when you jump on the target, it immediately gets the Sunder, so if you like jump on it, like put a range crippling bolt, jump on it, fearless, and pull on it, then it's absolutely getting demolished. It's a really high burst, and because of the extra range, like it's really useful when you have kind of cultivations. For PvE, I mean for the DPS stance, this activates the DPS stance. This gives like only the movement speed reduction. I mean the cancel of the movement speed reduction, you know, when sometimes you need to jump in when the tank dies or something, so that you are kind of available. I mean, I like to use it because I don't like to trust people in terms of tanking, you know. Alright, this book is pretty useless, like when people say it's worth buying. I mean, you can do that when you have like 100 cultivations or something, but yeah, when I was like at 90, 95, I didn't even use it. I didn't even have it unlocked. So yeah, this is a really good skill. The extra range and the randomly disabled targets are like super worth it in PvP, extremely in the when you're like in a 5v5, 10v10 or something. You can really, or like 1v1s obviously, you can really fuck some people up with that. And where is that? This is the 50 million book. Like it's Tarzan style, you jump to the target and root him. This is for PvE. this gives like a DPS buff, which I'm gonna explain why it's good later as well for the bleed. Like, you need to buff yourself as much as possible for the PvE. Here, this is tanky stuff. This is a really good tank book. This is bad, but this is in like 1v1s or like solo farming stuff, not bad as well. Iron Resolve, super OP skill, your permanent Iron Resolve. When you have like, when you go in PvP, you kinda want to have everything, like every single one of them. It gives you like the possibility to have like every 7 seconds an Iron Resolve, and that is pretty OP when your Iron Resolve lasts like 5 seconds, you know. You're able, when you know how to use your skills, to be Mercule forever. And this is the OP, the very strongest 50 million book which the Vanguard has, besides the one which you cannot craft, which is this one. Alright, yeah, this skill is pretty useless, at least for the DPS. Like, this tree is completely useless. Sometimes it's like bugged, the Counter-Strike. And, but yeah, this for PvE is nice. Like this, as a tank. It tanks a lot of damage. But, and this is maybe only good for some specific bosses as a tank. Otherwise you would just one-shot yourself when you're taking the damage from the group. And this reduces magic damage is only situational. I mean, it is really strong against magic players, but in the current PvP with the assassins and stuff, it's, in my opinion, not really worth it. Okay, let's come to the Fearless, which is your OP burst skill. Super important, more damage, super important, more damage. Reduces your HP by 10 and gives out of combat 20 Heaven's Wrath. Out of combat. When you're in combat and use this skill, it is a, how's it called, Heaven's Wrath skill as well, so it gives the Heaven's Wrath skill bonus usage as well. I'm gonna show that in a bit. And this skill has a translation error. It says taking crit damage during the Fearless, but it is actually when you're doing crit damage. So like when you crit, it's getting reduced by 5 seconds, by 3 seconds every 5 seconds. So it's pretty OP. See, like I'm gonna show that here. I'm in fight, and it should give me only 20, but since it's a Heaven Wrath skill, boom, 34. And I mean, it should give me like 26-ish, I guess, but I have the cooldown cultivation in there, so I'm getting a bit more special skill points like this here because of that. The same counts for Iron Resolve and Vanguard's Blessing with the Heaven's Wrath, like when you use those skills that you're getting were Heaven's Wrath points. Alright, for PvE first, I'm gonna make a little rotation. What really depends on your DPS in PvE is your Tornado Sweep. Your Tornado Sweep is like your most important skill. That's why you are going in the PvE set, for the bleeding with a 5 set. Because this bleeding can really pop off. It's like, I'm gonna make a really quick example right here. I'm gonna stack my bleeding to 5, and you will see a big difference when I buff myself and debuff the target, and when I'm not doing that to the target. And it only needs to be set up for the very first bleed. So now it's like 7.2k. And now I'm gonna debuff the target with the Crippling Bolt, and this counts like for your party people's debuffs as well, like Common Strike if the party getting buffed, etc, etc. Shadow Breaker from the Blade Master, etc. So now like I'm at 4 and it's given only 19,000, and yeah, 25,000. Just like, it is just more than 3 times as strong as before, you know. And only because I buffed the very first bleed. I can wait as long as I want with the second bleed, But if it runs out, yeah, you have to set it up again, and you really want to try to get a bleed as long as possible going with the very first buff, because then you should be like really strong, because you're using every kind of cooldown in the same second, and that's why you want to keep that bleed going, which you can do with your tornado sweep and your sundering steel, and nowadays with your smite as well. So what you want to do is like to set up a combo, reset the data, to reach your smite first, because this is getting per hit, which is like 5, there's a 50% percentage that you're getting this kind of bleed on the target. There's like a 1 point something chance that you don't get a bleed at all, but yeah, then you're just really lucky, and it happens once, you know. Kappa. Alright. This strength buff from the weapon counts as well as a buff to boost your damage, your physical damage, which means a higher bleed as well. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna try to stack as much specials as possible in this second. Oops. And then you just try to burst everything out of this puppet and keep the bleed going. Now I'm at 26k bleed. That's not bad. In the second rotation you try to use your blazing charge, interrupt it, and your holy vortex with the thundering steel, most possibly buffed. The blazing charge, which I just did there, the interrupted one, is only possible when you're using this action mode, sadly. And it sounds pretty dumb, but what you need to do is, when you use that skill, to jump and turn around your camera. Like, you can even dodge boss mechanics with that, like then you're behind the target, you know, when you're like when you're getting a bit used to it. And it's like a huge DPS increase, like when you're seeing like a Vanguard going in trying to pull or something, you know, or you know that he's like Mercure in his Mercure state, you just do that right on him and you completely one-shot him. It's pretty ridiculous. Alright, let's continue. PvE rotation is like, you want to get your smite as soon as possible, and this means to use a skill, heroic strike, skill, heroic strike, skill, heroic strike. So like, zack, 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 zack. When you're listening closely, you can hear like the little interrupted, like animation interrupted auto attack always in that rotation, and that's what is like giving you the possibility to build that many specials at once. Holy shit. Which gives you the opportunity to have the next burst even faster. Alright. Let's take a look at the soul rate. For Vanguard, it's like it's really important, at least for PvE, to have like the 200 physical defense break. It's like a really huge DPS increase. Physical defense break is in general like the most strongest stat in PvE, like the flat stat which you can get on your casual gear, not the demon break and punishment. And yeah, then you would focus like on crit increment and your magic defense, definitely. And this is like only possible with the chaos crystal. I'm having like a little wonky circuit, to be honest, but what you're gonna focus on building first is a level 8 death crystal. Alright, let's go for the PvP, for the PvP page. Those are my DAOs, by the way. Really quick. DPS, the complete DPS on the Sundering Steel. That doesn't, the DAOs on the Smite and the Sundering Steel doesn't like increase the bleed damage. Like the bleed damage is like always depending on your current damage and not on the skill you use. Yeah, so you don't really need to care when it's about the bleed, about the DAOs. Skill damage first, because when you're like in those new Sulan patch boss fights, which are like pretty healthy, it kind of takes a while to bring them down in HP wise. So I just put the red first and then the green, and you should do like 5-5 with the green and red. This is like sadly a pretty useless skill and only good for DA farming, which you would use for life stealing. And this is like the pain train, which I'm trying to get on 5 DAOs for the red, 3 on the cooldown, special skill cost, and 2 on the cooldown. You can really attack like twice or something and use your fearless and then immediately can blazing charge. And here I would use 5 reds, like 4 or 3 for the special skill costs, and if you need it then just 5, and the other stuff on cooldown. This is sadly a super useless skill, don't use it at all. Why? Because he stacks you in animation when you can do nothing. Like you are like for 1 second not able to press anything, and yeah, in PvP that is pretty clunky to play with, to be honest, and it's only a knockdown, so it's not really worth it. So for PvP, Shieldstorm is always worth it, and you play around with the Indomitable Will and the Dauntless Spirit. In 30v30 and I would say 20v20 as well, you use the Dauntless Spirit, and in some PvE dungeons where you like maybe need to carry your party with surviving easier, you know, when they're not playing in their best, you know. So, but yeah, this is like your stuff which you normally go on, like with your Indomitable Will. You use the Dauntless Spirit, why, in the 20v20 and 30v30, because this is like a battlefield, and in that you buff everyone. Like you don't buff only like your 5 players, you buff the legit complete raid, which gives you like some vanguards and some DVGs has just the most healing because of that skill. It's pretty funny. And yeah, this skill you mainly go on cooldown, then I guess on damage reduction for PvP, and on for PvE the increased skill damage. And then this is like a DPS buff which you need for your bleed as well, so you put here like 5,000 and here 5,000 to have the boost soon again as early as possible, even when you don't need it. It's pretty nice, and it gives your group the buff as well. Well, yeah, flying skills are pretty trash, except one, for the 20 chapters, which increases your movement speed like by a lot, so it's pretty nice for some farming. Alright, let's continue. For PvP, yeah, I'm not using like the damage over time stuff, because in PvP you're just a DPS burst person. Nothing of that. Here I got this. I'm not using this one, even when I'm talking about burst or whatever. Your real burst is getting set up only by the crippling bolt as well. Like it increases your DPS by a lot. You only DPS on a target, for example Spirit Shaper, when you're having your crippling bolt under that, because yeah, you do nearly double the damage. You definitely have more power when you use that with them, and not in this burst state. It's not bad, but only against like squishy targets, obviously. Here's some extra range with my current cultivation points at the moment. Like I said, it's not bad. And here, yeah, I don't need the reduced movement speed. I don't tank anything in PvP, so I don't need that. Yeah, when I have more cultivations, I'm going for those as well. Like I explained, it's pretty nice. Some extra XP, HP is nice as well in PvP, and pretty useful for the team as well. Now I need only those to get like the really quick Iron Resolve to get back. I mean, to get it back really fast. And here I don't have the extra cooldown. It's fine. And yeah, the extra burst. So what you're kind of trying to do is in PvP to never burn your Indomitable Will and your Iron Resolve at once. You kind of want to chain your CC breaks, obviously, and it is pretty easy because you rather can CC the enemy really good, and when he CCs you, you should always have like something up to escape that or counter instantly to get him in a CC to get time to get your CC breaks back. It's pretty easy, to be honest, to handle with all the classes. The only cancer classes are Sword Mage for the Vanguard and obviously Occultist. The other classes you can just crush. Like 101 you can play Blade Master down when you're using Brain, interrupting the skills which you can interrupt. Like the Dragon Grass can interrupt, for example, the Holy Vortex from the enemy, the Panther Strike, the Blazing Charge, no, not Blazing Charge, Panther Strike, Smite, Smite. The Dark Moon, even like Elemental Furies and stuff when you're having fast hands or when you see the animation. Even Bindings of Pain and stuff, but this is like really difficult. And most of the times when you're like bursting down a Spirit Shaper, when you're like smiting down to him, they like try to get away. And the first thing they do when they get out of fogs or whatever is obviously to heal themselves, and this they are doing that mostly in Mercure, so you can interrupt like the first falling Sakura with the Dragon Grass as well and keep on going to pressure them, which confuses them a lot. So yeah, it's always nice to pressure with that skill, or keep it especially, and not just like as a little grab, which could fail because people were CC